So again, we are going to do a question of earnings per share. That is under the International Accounting Standards 33. So now you are supposed to compute for basic earnings per share and diluted earnings per share. But for the question I'm going to do now is concerning how to do the basic earnings per share. Then later I would be able to embark on how to do the diluted earnings per share. So there's a small question for November 2016, question 4B, this one, which says that the following information relates to Jambo Remittance. So we have the net profit after tax, year ended 31st December, that is 2013, 2014, 2015. We have 30, 38, and 45. Number two, on 1st February 2014, a right issue of one new share for each 5 shares outstanding was made at an exercise price of Sh5. Before the right issue, the number of shares outstanding was 5 million. The last date to exercise the rights was 1st March 2014. The fair value of the ordinary shares immediately before exercise of the rights on 1st March 2014 was Sh11. Required earnings per share for each of the year ended 31st December 2013, 2014, 2015. So this question of ours, it has 3 years. So 2013, 2014, 2015. So which you are required to do, the earnings per share. You are required to do the earnings per share for those 3 years, 2013, 2014, 2015. So looking at this question, in 2013, there was no right issue. But in 2014, there was a right issue. That is what they said in note 2, that on 1st February 2014, a right issue of 1 share for each 5 shares outstanding was made at an exercise price of Sh5. So the main thing is that in 2014 is where we have the right issue. And we know that when there's a right issue and you are doing your weighing of shares, the weighted average number of ordinary shares, we use the formula. We say that 1/0 is equals to ordinary shares before the right issue. You multiply with the fair value before the right issue. You divide with the theoretical ex-right price. You multiply with the period before right issue. Then what you get from your first computation, you add with ordinary shares after the right issue times the period after the right issue. So, and that one will be done in 2014. But now in 2013 and 2015, to get your 1/0, the weighted average number of ordinary shares, you just weigh the shares which were issued there. You just weigh the shares which were issued in those 2 years. So let us start from determining the earnings per share for 2013. What you need to know is that when we are looking for the basic earnings per share, so the basic earnings per share is all about the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders. You divide by with the weighted average number of ordinary shares. The weighted average number of ordinary shares. So that is the 1/0. So to get the powers, you know that you are supposed to start from the reported profit after tax. You raise the profit attributable to the non-controlling interest, which is the minority shareholders. Then you raise the dividends to prevalent shareholders. But looking at our question, to start with 2013, there is no information for the profit attributable to the non-controlling interest, and there's no information whereby they have said that this is the dividends attributable to the prevalent shareholders. So which means that my powers for 2013, 2014, and even 2015, the 3 years, will remain to be the profit after tax provided there. Will remain to be the profit after tax provided here. So the profit after tax, which is provided, so the profit after tax, the 30, 38, 30, 38. So let me say that this is 2013, So let me say 2013. 2013, we have 2014 here. Then 2015. So 30 for 2013. Then for 2014 is 38. And for the other year is 45. Is 45. So if there was, remember that profit to NCI, profit attributable to NCI, the profit attributable to the NCI, we could have deducted. We could have deducted. And at the same time, if there was a preference dividends, the preference dividends, we could have deducted again. So that is what we could have done. So there's nothing like that. So what we have here is 30, we have 38, and we have 45. So let us look for the WANOS 2013. So WANOS 2013, we have to check the shares which are provided in 2013. So the shares which were there in 2013, to be more specific, the ordinary shares, not just every shares. Because we can have even the preference shares, those are shares, but we don't use them. We don't use the preference shares in the determination of our, we don't use the preference shares in the determination of our WANOS. What we weigh is all about the ordinary shares. So which are these ordinary shares which were there in 20? Which are these ordinary shares which were there in 2013? So if I display this question, who can be able to tell me the ordinary shares which were there in 2013? So anyway, remember that they said in note 3, before the right issue, the number of shares outstanding was 5 million. When was the right issue? When was the right issue? So the right issue is 1st February. When? 2013, eh? 2013 or 2014? 2014. So the period before the right issue, which year is before the right issue? 2013. Our right issue is on 1st February 2014. So which means that in note 3, when they say before the right issue, they mean 2013. Before the right issue, because the right issue is in 2014. So when they say before the right issue, they mean 2013. So the number of shares outstanding was 5 million. So in 2013, the number of shares outstanding throughout that period is 5 million. So if you take 5 million, you weigh for the entire year, it just remains to be 5 million. This one remains to be 5 million. So once it remains to be 5 million, you can be able to get your basic EPS for 2013. So the basic EPS for 2013 would be 30 divided by the 5. Remember that this is in terms of millions. That is why I've reduced my figure for WANOS to millions. This is in terms of millions. So this one will be shillings 6 per share. This one would be shilling 6 per share. So looking for the WANOS 2014. So WANOS 2014. So the WANOS 2014. So in 2014, there was right issue. And when there's a right issue, you know that you have to use the formula. So the formula for determining WANOS, when there's this aspect of a right issue, you say ordinary shares before right issue. Ordinary shares before right issue. Ordinary shares before the right issue. Terms, the fair value before right issue. The fair value before the right issue. You divide with the theoretical ex-right price. You multiply with the period before the right issue. Period before right issue. Period before the right issue. So the answer you are getting from that first computation, you add with the ordinary shares after the right issue, ordinary shares after right issue, ordinary shares after right issue times period after, times the period after right issue, times the period after the right issue, times the period after the right issue. So that now we can be able to apply the shares we have, the shares we have in our formula. So the ordinary shares before the right issue is 5 million, the one which were there in 2013. Before the right issue, 5 million. So fair value is obviously higher than the price at which they made the right issue. So the price at which they made the right issue was in note 2, they said that on 1st February 2014, a right issue of 1 new share for each 5 shares outstanding was made at an exercise price of 5. But looking at note 5, they said that the fair value of 1 ordinary shares immediately before exercise of the rights on 1st March 2014 was 11. So the fair value of the ordinary shares in the year 2014 was 11. So which means that 11 is our fair value, the fair value. So the 11. So for the theoretical exercise price, we have to compute later. So the period before the right issue. Remember that our right issue took place in February and our financial year runs from January to December. So which means that the period before the right issue is just January, 1 month, January of 2014, the January of 2014. Then we add the ordinary shares after the right issue. So remember that the ordinary shares before the right issue in 2013, it was 5 million. Then coming to 2014, on February, they made a right issue. They made a right issue. In which proportion was the right issue taking place? So the right issue was in the proportion of 1 new share for each 5 shares outstanding, 1 for 5 outstanding. So they were getting 1 for every 5 outstanding. How many shares were outstanding so far? The 5, this one. So which means that my right issue, the shares which are issued through the right issue is 5 times 1 over 5. So here you get 1. You get 1. So which means that the shares after the right issue, the ordinary shares after the right issue would be the one before plus the one through the right issue. And that is how I will get the 6 to take to my formula. Then I will multiply with the period after the right issue from 1st February to the end of the year. So that is 11 months. So that is the case. Then after doing that, we can look for the theoretical exercise price. We can look for the TERB, so the theoretical exercise price. So to look for the theoretical exercise price, remember that we use the proportion. The proportion was 1 new at 5. At 5, the price of the exercise was, the price of the right issue. Was it 5? The one new, yes, they were being given at shillings 5. That is as per note 2. A right issue of 1 new share for each 5 shares outstanding was made at an exercise price of 5. But remember our fair value, the market price, as per note 5. As per note 5, it was 11. They said the fair value of 1 ordinary shares before exercise of the rights on 1st March 2014 was 11. So which means that 5 old. So 5 old at 11. So if you take 1 times 5, you get 5. Then 5 times 11, 55. So this is 60. 5 plus 55, that is 60. And then you take 60 divided by 6. So that is 10. So 10 is what you take to your formula as the theoretical exercise price. So get the total. So get the total there. So what are you getting as the total? 5.9. So it's like 6. Eh? So this figure is 6. So that figure is 6. So which means that our basic EPS for the year 2014 will be. So our basic EPS for the year 2014 will be the 38, the figure we have here. The 38 we divide with 6. So 38 divided by 6. 38 divided by 6.
6.3.
So that is 6.3. So that is, let's say, 6 per share. So that is shillings 6 per share. So shillings 6 per share. Then once. So for example, now when you give some. So once we are done with this aspect of doing, I can hear some of you are watching my videos where you are in this class. Eh? So watch later. So for now we are doing a live session. So let us do for 2015. So for 2015, it will not be having a lot of work again because I need only the one-offs for 2015. And in 2015, there is no right issue. There's no right issue. There's no right issue in 2015. There's no right issue in 2015. So since there's no right issue in 2015, we need just to weigh the shares which were there in 2015. So how many shares are there now by 2015? How many shares are with the shareholders by 2015? That is a question to the class. How many shares are with the shareholders by 2015? Mweni, good evening. Monica, how many shares are with the shareholders by 2015? Zamzam, how many shares?
6.
So how do you get the 6? Yes, that is correct. But how do you get the 6? So, or which 6 do you pick from the previous? Remember that in 2013, the shares which were there were 5. Eh? In 2014, they made an additional issue of shares through right issue. So that is why we have the 5 of the previous period, that is 2013, plus the 1 which was made in 2014 through the right issue. So by 2015, we have how many shares? 6. We have 6 shares by 2015. So the 6, it's 6 million, not just 6. So they would accrue for the entire period of 2015. So we say 12 over 12. So we get 6. So that is how we weigh. So that my basic EPS for 2015 will be my 45. This 45, which is here, you divide with 6. You divide with 6. So 45 divided by 6. So 45 divided by 6, you get shillings 7.5 per share. So shilling 7.5 per share. So the shilling 7.5 per share. So this is how you were supposed to do this question. It is just a small question, but I think it's illustrating that part of basic earnings per share, whereby you have an aspect of right issue in one of the years, that is 2014. But in 2013 and 2015, there was none. So when you don't have the aspect of this right issue in a certain period, you are required to do the one-offs, yes, but now without using the formula, but you weigh the shares. And that is what we have been doing. That marks the end of that question, the end of that question. So before I add to the aspect of doing the diluted earnings per share, and we embark on doing more questions now, both on basic and diluted itself. I would like to talk a bit of about what diluted earnings per share mean. So when we talk about diluted EPS, this is what I mean when I'm talking about diluted EPS. So dilution is a reduction in value. Diluted EPS signifies a reduction in the value of basic earnings per share. It implies, or it shows that there would be a reduction in value of the basic earnings per share, of the basic earnings per share. So according to IAS 33, a company is meant to disclose both basic and diluted, of which we have done a bit of basic. So with the diluted earnings per share being a what-if analysis. So the diluted EPS indicates that the users, that is a diluted EPS indicates to the users that there is a possibility that the basic earnings per share will decline in future if number of ordinary shares increases. So if there is no possibility of the increase in number of shares, then the basic earnings per share and the diluted earnings per share are the same. So the possibility of a decline in the basic earnings per share arises when the firm has proposed to issue new ordinary shares in the future. So those exists potential ordinary shares. So in short, when I will be talking about diluted EPS, you have shown that you have just realized that diluted EPS it signifies a reduction in the value of basic earnings per share. So what are you required to do when you are doing diluted? When doing the diluted earnings per share, we use what is called the potential securities. We use the potential securities. The potential securities, these are securities which are likely or unlikely to be converted to ordinary shares. That is why you can see here they say diluted EPS being a what-if analysis. So these potential securities, we always assume that they are being converted to ordinary shares. What-if analysis. So they are likely or unlikely to be converted to ordinary shares. So that's why they are saying that the possibility of a decline in the basic earnings per share arises when the firm has promised to issue new ordinary shares in the future. So from where? From these potential securities. The potential securities which are likely or unlikely to be converted to ordinary shares. So which are these potential securities? Convertible bonds, debentures, or loan stock. We have convertible preference shares, and we have the share options or warrants. So when we talk about potential, let's say, for example, potential preference shares. So there will be only an increase in ordinary shares because for us to use that potential security called preference shares, we have to use an assumption that that potential security is being converted to ordinary shares. So that I will do the calculations later and we'll be able to understand what is supposed to be done when you are given, let's say, potential preference shares, so the convertible one. What is supposed to be done when you have a convertible loan stock that is under diluted, and at the same time when we have share options and warrants? So in short, when doing diluted, we use potential securities. The securities which are likely or unlikely to be converted to ordinary shares, of which we go, for us to use them under diluted, we have to go with the assumption that we have to use the assumption that they are converted. They are converted. Then there's various steps to follow. There are various steps to be followed when doing this aspect of diluted. The first step to start with is you do the basic. That is what I've been doing since we started the session. You do the basic. You do the basic. So once you do the basic earnings per share, step 2, you determine the order of ranking the securities. Then after determining the order of ranking the securities, now you compute the diluted earnings per share based on the securities you have ranked. So you rank the securities from the one which has a least effect to the basic earnings per share. That is why they said that diluted EPS signifies a reduction in the value of basic EPS. I want to stop there. I want to stop there. Go and read more about diluted. That is just understanding what I've been talking about. What is this potential securities? What is this what if analysis I'm talking about? So that when we meet on our normal revision sessions, now these sessions I'm calling them, it's like a normal revision sessions we are doing. When we meet on our normal revision sessions, that is tomorrow, we do some two questions on both basic and diluted, consisting a bonus, share split, reverse split, and right issue. So you can have a nice time. If there's no any question, students, we meet tomorrow. Is there any question? So since I can see silence means that you are okay, have a nice time and see you tomorrow for the continuation from where we have left.